Hello, this video is for IXL Activity 7.E.1. It is titled Add and Subtract Decimals. And the 3-character code for this activity is Bravo Papa 2. So whenever you add and subtract decimals, you need to make sure that your decimals are lined up. So it's just like subtracting integers and whole numbers and so forth. You just have to make sure that your decimals are lined up, and that has to do with place value. Now, I know that many of my students, whenever I look at the live reports, or I look at the teacher reports for this, I see the number of questions and the amount of time that it took them to complete the activity. And many times I'll see where they did 32 questions, went straight from 0 to 100, and they did it in like 3.5 minutes. Well, that's possible if you're using a calculator. So calculators are great. Calculators are wonderful if we already know how to do the activity without, or if we already know how to complete the task or find the answer without a calculator, then that's whenever it becomes fine to use the calculator. So be sure that if you are using a calculator for this, that you at least understand the process for how to do it without a calculator. I'll be doing all of these examples without the use of a calculator today. So in our first one, we have 9/10 minus 4/10, or we could read this as 0.9 minus 0.4. And real quick, we'll talk about place value. We know that this is the ones place, and so we have 0 ones. Then once we get to the right of the decimal, then there's no such thing as a actually, I might be better off to go ahead and talk over here first. So here's our decimal, and here we have the ones place, right? And here we have the tens place. So whenever we get to the right of the decimal, we start with the TENTH. So we put a THS on the end, and this is tenths. So it'd be 3/10, and it takes 10 of these tenths to make the next column, or the next value to its left, which is the 1. So 10 tenths equals 1, just like 10 ones equals a 10. And then our next place value here is hundredths, H-U-N-D, 100, T-H, hundredths. And it takes 100 100ths to equal 1. So if this were 0.99 and then we added one more, these would become zeros, and we end up with a 1 here. So a little bit of review on place value. Hopefully you learned place value long ago. But the concept of place value is why we have to line the decimals up with each other. And whenever I say line them up with each other, we would put 0.9, and then we have to line our decimals up, and then we put the 0.4, and we are subtracting. So we would have, and line up our decimal and our answer as well. So we would have 9 minus 4 is 5, and we end up with 0. So 0.5 for our first answer. On the next one, the sum of these two values here, 78.35 plus 85.16, we'll do the 78.35, and we need to be sure to line that decimal up. So we'll put the 85 here and the 16 here. Right now it's not that big of a deal because there seem to be 4 digits in each of the numbers, and with the decimal in the same position there. So we have ones and tenths, or ones and tens, ones and tens. We have tenths and hundredths, tenths and hundredths. So if we were to try to line these up to, and it's not subtract, it's to add them, the decimal would just naturally fall into its correct place. We're going to see other problems in the future where that will not be the case. So let's go ahead and line our decimal up on our answer. The 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5. Nothing to carry. 8 plus 5 is 13. Correct, yep. And carry the 1. And then 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 and 8 is 16. So we end up with 163.51 is the sum. Let's go to the next one, and it looks like it's still going to be the same thing. I'm looking at real quick like I look at lining decimals up. We have 2 place values here at the decimal, 2 here. We have 2 here and 2 here and 3 digits, so we're not really going to see the lining the decimal up issue just yet. So let's go ahead, we're adding these together, so we have 2.34 plus 4.33. Indeed, our decimals are lined up. Line the decimal up in the answer, then we can start our math here. 4 plus 3 is 7, 3 plus 3 is 6, and 2 plus 4 is 6, so we have 6.67. On the next one over here, we have 7.72 minus 7.69. It's going to get close to 0, but not quite, so our answer is going to be positive. But we'd have 7.72 minus 7.69. Our decimal is lined up, so we're good to go. Line that decimal up there, and we can start subtracting. I cannot take 9 away from 2, so I'm going to need to borrow. This is going to become 12, and the 7s are going to become a 6. And 12 minus 9 is 3. Now 6 minus 6 is 0, and we do need to keep that 0 there because it's holding the place value for us in that tenths position. And 7 minus 7 is 0. Always kind of like to keep a 0 out here too. I could put 0.03, and that would be the same thing as 0.03, but for the purposes of making it look neat and tidy, and it really helps that if you put the 0 before it, it really helps that decimal stand out there for people to realize that this is a decimal value. On to the next one. Oh, here we go. This is a couple of good examples here of making sure the decimals line up. So I got 136.65 plus 8. So I have 136.65, and I need to line up the decimal, and we're doing addition. So I want to make sure that I get this decimals lined up. Well, if the decimal were here, where would the 8 go? Well, we know that 8 is 8.0, right? So we could put 8.0 and throw another 0 in there to make the addition a little bit easier. So 5 plus, let's put our decimal in our answer. 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 0 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. We're going to carry the 1. 3 and 1 is 4. Bring that other 1 down, and we end up with 144.65. So this is what I was saying about make sure you keep the decimal lined up. We'll see it here in this example. Over here, we have 455.91. We're going to subtract from that, and let's go ahead and make sure our decimal lines up here. So we have 8.679, and we are subtracting, so we need to fill in some place holding zeros here. Now that we have that place holding 0, we can go ahead and start working our way through this problem. I can't take 9 away from 0, so I'm going to have to borrow. This 1's going to become a 0, and this 0 is going to become a 10. Now 10 minus 9 is 1. Now I cannot take 7 away from 0, so this is going to become a 10, and this 9 is going to become an 8, borrowing. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 8 minus 6 is 2, and this is where our decimal is going to go, keeping it lined up. I don't think I borrowed, so I can go, but I'm going to have to borrow again, right? So 8 minus 6 is 2, good. So 5 minus 8, or that is to say 15 minus 8, because we're borrowing from here. So 15 minus 8 is 7. Now I can bring down that 4 and the other 4, and my answer is 447.231. All right, now we're going to be adding more than one number together, and the key is going to be to keep those decimals lined up. And we can just stack all this together. You could add these two together and then add this to it, but I'm just going to stack them all up, just like I might if I had 34 plus 6 plus 9. I would just do 34, 6, and 9. So we're going to do the same thing with this here, and the key thing is to make sure our decimals lined up properly. So 700, no decimal yet, 725.48 plus 8.6. So if I put my decimal here, I'm going to have 8.66. And then put my decimal here, I'm going to have 270 and 76.97. 76.97. Now, If you wanted to add place holding zeros here, that would be fine, so you can keep all your columns lined up and also put our decimal there. I guess if you really want to put place holding zeros here, you could. Normally I wouldn't. So 0 plus 0 plus 7 is 7. 0 plus 0 plus 9 is 9. I kind of like this 8. 6 plus 6 is 12, right? Put these two together. 12 plus the 8 is going to be 20. Carry the 2. And now 6 and 4 is 10, right? Plus the 7 is 17. Plus 2 more is 19. Carry the 1. And now I have 5 and 1 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1 here. 1 and 2 is 3. Plus the 7 is 10. Carry the 1. 7 plus 2 is 9. Plus 1 more is 10. So we end up with 1004.9097. I think we have one more like that. Really long one. We'll stack all these together. But the key is to watch how I am lining up the decimals each time that I put one of the numbers in. The key is to have the decimals lined up. So 575.39. Decimal for the next one. 144. All right, 3 digits to the left, 2 to the right. 64. Line up the decimal. 3 digits to the left, so 318. And 2 digits, 38 to the right. Looks like they're all going to be that, right? Actually, not much lining up here, just a whole bunch of adding numbers along. 97. And this is you're going to find this up in the higher levels, the 19 or up in the 90s of IXL. So this is definitely going to be in the challenge zone. You're not going to find these like in the 70s and the 80s, I believe. So just start adding through them. Look for ones that make good pairs. For instance, the 8 and the 4 makes 12. And let's go ahead and, and the 7 and the 5 makes 12. And 12 plus 12 is 24. And plus 9 is going to be 33. And carry the 3. Let's put our decimal down here. Now, wow, look, I got 4 3s. So 1, 2, 3, 4 3s. 3 times 4 is 12, right? So that's 12 of it right there. Add 6 is 18. Plus this 9 is 27. And carry the 2. Okay, looking for good matches. Look at the 5 and 5 is 10, right? The 8 and 4 is 12. So let's do this 8 and 4 right here is 12. Plus the 5s, which are 10. So 12 plus 10 is 22. And let's add 2 more for 24. And then add 9 to get to 33. And put the 3 up here. Well, the 3 and 7 work really great to make 10, don't it? 10. And the 1 and 9 make 10. So there's 20. Plus the 5 is 25. Plus 4 more is 29. Carry the 2. And we're looking for nice grouping pairs. Look, the 2 and the 3 make 5. And then I got another 5 there, right? So let's go ahead and do this. 2 plus 3 is 5. Plus 5 more is 10. And then I see the 4 plus 1 is 6. So 10 plus 6 is 16. So we end up with 1693.73. A little bit of work on that one. Like I said, I know that many of my students will use a calculator for this activity. The key thing is to, sometimes you're in situations where you may not have a calculator handy. I know you're saying I always have my cell phone. Well, I don't know, like maybe a standardized test. So testing's gonna, whenever you take a standardized test, it's gonna give you problems, and they're not gonna give you access to a calculator. They want to know, can you do this? Can you line these up? Do you understand that whenever you add or subtract decimals that you have to line those up? So be sure to understand how to line those decimals up in order to perform the addition and subtraction of decimal numbers. So that pretty much covers it for all of my questions. Examples for IXL 7.E.1, add and subtract decimals. Good luck with your activity.